Okay. So, I have this issue where I love the idea of a novel that is fully written. It's a normal novel with words, but it also is illustrated. I love this concept, and it's something I want to do myself. My sister and my girlfriend are both aspiring artists, so I hope one day I can get them to illustrate my book. I mean, that'd be cool. It's like a brother-sister or a girlfriend-boyfriend team. That's neat to me. But anyway, but I've noticed that in not only these types of illustrated novels, but also comic books and video games as well, indie video games in particular, there's usually an amazing artist and a mediocre, at best, writer. Now, with that preface, it sounds like I'm about to be calling someone out. I'm going to do my best to not sound like I'm putting anyone down. I'm sure everyone involved in this project has done their best and has plenty of potential, and there's good stuff in it. But we're gonna actually be reading a story today that suffers from this exact issue that I'm talking about, and the book is entitled Twilight Monk: Secrets of Kung Fulio. Now I'm going to put up on the screen images from this book so you can see just how sweet it looks. The art style is fantastic. It's illustrated by... let's see. Wait, let me check. Illustrated by Trent Kanyuga. Something like Kaniyuga? Something like that. Anyway, you'll see it on the screen. And the author, the writer, well, let's not get into who the writer is. I'm not here to call anyone out, okay? The point is not to be mean. The point is simply to state that the art is phenomenal. It's by a guy who has spent years honing his craft and improving, who has a unique style all to himself, but obviously takes elements from other things, little bits of elements from other things, probably a little bit anime, some Western comics. I'm getting a sense of something else in there, but I'm not sure what it is. So it's obvious that he is a very proficient, skilled artist from years of experience, whereas the writing does not indicate as much. And when I checked the writer's other works on Amazon, it turned out that he has no other works on Amazon, so I'm not exactly surprised by that. And in fact, I'm kind of happy about that. It means that he doesn't have 15 other books under his belt, but still writes like this. So I'm going to get into it, and I'm just going to read. I think there's only not even a full chapter on the website. Yeah, there's 11 pages, and some of the pages are taken up with illustrations, and the text is rather large. So I think I can read the whole thing and keep the video under 15 minutes. I have Audacity here, and I have my bar, my sound wave going across the screen slowly as I'm recording. I'm about the 4-minute mark now, and when it starts nearing that 15-minute mark, I'll cut it off if I'm not finishing up already. So we're gonna go ahead and read it, and I'm gonna point out issues I have with the writing. And when I started reading it initially, within the first 2 sentences, I already no longer liked it. The first 2 sentences are a paragraph in this instance, and I immediately did not like the writing. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to stop at any time that I feel like I have something to say about it, and I'm going to try to edit this down so that I'm not rambling too much. Chapter 1, The New Kid. Raziel Tenza ripped through the muddy back alleys of Crescent Isle. I like the name. Raziel Tenza. It's pretty cool. Ripped through the muddy back alleys of Crescent Isle. So this first sentence I have no problem with. The taste of blood still in his mouth, he wondered what he'd ever done to deserve this. Okay, here is the first issue. And I'm going to try to say this without rambling, as I've done in my other videos. While I ramble because I'm searching for the perfect word. So I'm going to try to let myself be a little more imperfect. Because if I look for the perfect word, I'm going to be imperfect anyway in rambling or long pauses, that kind of thing. So the problem with this, in a nutshell, is that there are 2 clauses in this sentence. The taste of blood still in his mouth, and he wondered what he'd ever done to deserve this. This is one sentence with 2 clauses. Well, a sentence expresses a single idea. So Both of these clauses should be very closely related, but if you'll notice, they are not. The taste of blood still in his mouth is talking about blood still being in his mouth, and you would think that the next clause would be related to how it happened, or a thought related to the taste of blood in his mouth, but no, it just says he wondered what he'd ever done to deserve this. To deserve blood in your mouth? Like, I could understand if someone thought, well, it is related, see, because he's wondering what he deserved to have someone hit him or some event occur that then made him have blood in his mouth. But it doesn't work because the taste of blood in his mouth is not the wound, it's just a sensation. And he surely is not thinking, oh man, what did I ever do to have blood in my mouth? Like, that's a weird thought, right? It would be, what did I ever do to be hit? What did I ever do to have this situation occur? But not, what did I ever do to have blood be in my mouth? That's not what it's trying to say. I think what the author is going for is he wants the kid to be thinking, what did I ever do to deserve this? And he wants to connect that to something greater. Like, he wants to make the sentence have more things happen in it than just the one thing. But the problem is he didn't logically connect it well enough. So, for instance, if I were going to correct it, I would say something like, his wounds throbbing, his wounds still throbbing, he wondered what he'd ever done to deserve this, right? Now it's like he regrets the throbbing of the wounds, and that's pain, and he wondered what he ever did to deserve the pain, see? But the taste of blood, not quite doing it for me. And I maybe not be 100% right on that, but it's just indicative of the kind of slightly sloppy writing. The ideas are I can see where he's coming from, but the ideas are not connecting quite right. I might even say the taste of blood still in his mouth. He wondered, why it tasted metallic, right? What is it about the blood in his mouth, the taste? Because remember, you could actually parse the sentence down to the taste, right? So the taste, comma, he wondered what he'd ever done to deserve this, but instead, it doesn't make a lot of sense because there's no connection there, right? He's wondering what he'd ever done to deserve having the taste in his mouth. It's just not very powerful. It's not strong. Anyway, moving on. That's definitely getting edited down to something way shorter, because let's see, that rambled on for like 3 minutes. But I'll leave this part in so you know that I did cut it out, but then I left this part in to say I rambled for a long time. Anyway, he'd ever done to deserve this. This is the last time I stick my neck out for someone else, he thought to himself as he quickly gestured to his companion to slide under the low bridge behind him. There's possibly a little too much going on in that sentence. Like, you want to get this sense of, oh man, they're sliding under the bridge and he's gesturing, but it's just there's so much happening that eventually nothing in the sentence really lands. And what do you mean slide under the low bridge? Like, is the idea that they're in middle of running and as they run they're going to slide? So what, did he stop and then told his friend to keep running and slide? It's not very strong. Again, it's like, I can, as an intelligent human being, consider the sentence, put it all together, and say, okay, I see what's happening. But as I'm reading it, I don't feel any of that because it's not very well paced. The phrasing is not there. Where are we in time and space? What's the pacing here? What's physically going on? What's chronologically happening? It never explains him stopping, for instance. So you just sort of have to make up stuff in your head, but it's not really leading you to it. It's just leaving you to your own devices. So I don't like that. Even with a Moonkin's heightened senses, Raz could barely hear their relentless pursuers over the deluge of rainfall and his own heavy breathing. I'm not feeling that either, but if I stop at every sentence, it's just going to be, it's going to take forever. His feet glided treacherously out from under him as he slid around the back of Hamcha's barbecue, knocking over an unsuspecting cook on his late evening smoke break. So, it says that his feet glided treacherously out from under him as he slid around the back of Hamcha's barbecue. I'm getting mixed signals here. On the one hand, it feels like he's intentionally sliding around. But if he's intentionally doing it, then why would you say his feet glided treacherously out from under him as if he tripped? So I'm not sure if he is intentionally doing a power slide here or if he actually fell. I'm just not quite sure what's happening. And dude, I'm 11 minutes in. I'm not getting anywhere in this. Anyway, moving on. Watch it, Moonkin. The rotund old man shouted angrily, waving his fist in the air. This is, par for the course. It kind of feels a little it feels like a little bit younger than young adult. It feels like a bit preteenish the way it's written. He's just waving his fist in the air. It's just very almost cliche, you would say. There wasn't time to stop and apologize. Even if he'd made the effort, it wouldn't change anything. The people in Crescent Isle already had no love for Raziel, and not much he'd done since he arrived seemed to change their mind about that. Plus, he had more significant problems to consider. So, what he's doing is he's trying to give you a little backstory, but it's a little bit clumsy. He's like sliding, and then he's like bemoaning the fact that he's not well loved, and then he tries to jump back into the story by saying, plus he had more significant problems to consider, but it's so obvious that how he's jumping out of the action and then trying to slip right back into the action under your nose that it's just it's not very engaging. Several paces behind him and struggling to keep up, Rintora staggered clumsily, panting with exhaustion and shouting unintelligibly. I'm noticing he's doing a lot of this where he's trying to pack the sentences with lots of stuff happening to keep the pace up, but it ends up actually weakening the pace. A sentence needs to have a very strong point, and several paces behind him, 1 point. Struggling to keep up, 2 points. Rintor staggered clumsily, 3. Panting with exhaustion, 4. And shouting unintelligibly, 5. There's just too many things going on at the same time, and they're kind of just bang, bang, bang in a list. So it's not like you can't have a sentence with all these things occurring, but when you just put them in a list like this, it doesn't have any impact. You're just like, okay, there's lots of, there's a lot of things, but yeah, okay, so what, right? There's no impact to it. So I am at, okay, I'll go a little bit longer. I'm not quite at, I'm a little over 13 minutes. Let's see here. At first glance, one would be forgiven for mistaking the big moonkin for a chief in training rather than a monk under the tutelage of some of the most fearsome warriors in all of Speria. In short, he was not the spitting image of martial arts prowess. On most days, Rin carried his large frame with surprising agility, but he had a knack for screwing up at just the right moment. If bad timing were a talent, Rin would be exceptional. So this whole thing makes me think that either what he just described should be explaining Rintora's stumbling behind, or it should be describing what is about to happen. So it didn't really explain him stumbling behind because he didn't really screw anything up. He just was out of breath. So I'm assuming that if bad timing were a talent, Rin would be exceptional is about to pay off. Okay, so here's the next paragraph. Seeing an opportunity to put some distance between them and their pursuers, Raz kicked over a trash can and hung a hard right into another narrow corridor, deeper into the alleys and away from the central marketplace. Moments later, a crash and a frustrated yell echoed against the walls behind him. One of them yelled, "Dudes, I think they went this way." "These guys don't quit," Raz huffed as he pulled at his companion's arm, darting over a railing and sliding down into the lower street level. The Celestial Temple loomed over them with mocking indifference as they clumsily sped through the rain-soaked, narrow back alleys. Well, okay, so that line, the information before did not pay off, so revealing Rintora's screw-ups and stuff really wasn't great at that exact moment. It kind of slowed down the pacing, and there was no payoff to why that was even mentioned. Probably mentioning him being, a bit tubby, and therefore that is making their escape a more difficult than it would otherwise be, and then maybe even bringing that into a moral conundrum that Raziel Tenza has, maybe thinking, should I abandon him? It would be way easier without him. Maybe we should split up, which, oh yeah, because they can't catch both of us, but in secret it's just like, well, yeah, but it's easier for me to get away without this big lard holding me back, no offense. But instead, it never had a payoff. And then I noticed there's like almost no description anywhere of anything physical. There was a little bit, the streets were muddy, and then there was a barbecue pit, which felt really strangely out of place. I was getting the sense I was in this kind of town that was very rustic and fantasy-ish, but then, there's just like a barbecue and stuff, and I don't know, maybe that might just be me, but the Celestial Temple loomed over them with mocking indifference. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean in this context. Why, is there some story there, is it a temple that Raz was told was supposed to be significant and would protect people in difficult times, and that's why it seems mockingly indifferent, or, like, but doesn't really explain that. It's like the author had an idea in his head, but he never fully realized that idea on the page. So anyway, that's my sort of reading / review of this. Blast that I went over 15 minutes, but anyway, as long as I'm under 20, I guess I'll be fine. So that's my review / reading of Twilight Monk: Secrets of Kung Fulio. If that sounded fun to you, then I encourage you to go ahead and buy it, because it's got amazing illustrations. It's $14 on Amazon. It looks like. I'm not sponsored in any way. In fact, if the writer watched this at any point, he would probably hate me. And I say to him, if he's watching, which of course he's not, I'm just being honest, and I'm just as critical of my own work. In fact, the last time I tried to read my own work to an audience, an audience of one, I hated it. I despised it, and I became depressed for a little bit. So this is definitely not anything I wouldn't say of my own writing or the writing of my other friends or in my writing Discord server. So I hope it helps you, in fact, that it'll give you something to think about, chew on. But if not, that's fine. That's cool. I hope someone got something out of this, had a little fun. And that's the end of Loaded Trifle episode, 5 or whatever. And you guys take it easy. Bye-bye.